You began playing with Middlesex at an early age. Can you recall what it was all those years ago that made you realise that you were going to pursue a career in the game of cricket?
Well, it was strange really at the start of my career because I never really wanted to be a cricketer. I always played cricket in the summer, football in the winter, was always sort of sporty, came from a sporty background. My dad was a very keen Arsenal and Middlesex supporter, took me along to Lords a lot of the time, and yeah, got onto the MCCYCs, which was just across the road at the nursery ground with Don Wilson, who was a great fella and sort of like a left arm spinner as well, which was great for me. Had a couple of second 11 games for Middlesex, got spotted, and was then asked to come and join the second 11, which was a fantastic thrill, you know, to be picked up by a first class county, especially Middlesex as well, playing here at Lords. Walking around the dressing rooms, we had a fantastic first 11 as well, with some really big name players, was just a dream come true.
As a Middlesex man and wanted to play for them, what was it like to play at Lords for the first time?
For the first time, well, as you said, I've been involved in the second 11, had 3 or 4 years in the second 11, then I got the call to play, and I think my first game actually was at Uxbridge, which sort of took the pressure off a little bit, so bowled pretty well there. I think the first game I played here, it sort of went over in a daze, but then we had a very good team of senior players who sort of like looked after us, and the youngsters as well. Don Bennett was also the coach as well. So they kind of, you know, made you feel at home as much as they could, but also from a very early age instilled that you were playing for Middlesex, you're playing at Lords, and you've got to go out there and do the job, young man. You're not just sort of like coming in to make up the numbers. When you're throwing the ball to do a bit of bowling, we want you to get people out, don't care how young you are.
Make it sound quite easy to get into the Middlesex setup, which of course it wasn't. What sacrifices did you have to make as a youngster to become a professional cricketer?
Well, obviously you had to turn up for a start off, which was good. No, okay. What sacrifices? I think the sacrifices I had to make, well, they weren't really sacrifices to me at the time. I enjoyed coming to work every day. You know, it wasn't a sacrifice. Turning up here, you know, training with all the guys, going up and down the country with all your mates, and then sort of aspiring to get into the first team wasn't really a sacrifice. It was something that I really wanted to do. Everything that was put in front of me, I wanted to then achieve and get better. And so it wasn't really a sacrifice. It was just something that you wanted to throw yourself into and, you know, try to achieve and succeed at.
You're a man made for a sporting dressing room, particularly a cricket one, I imagine.
And what a dressing room this was. This was the best dressing room in the country. I'm sure you just used to sit just over there. Have a little sleep along there sometimes when the boys were out scoring 600 for 2. Yeah, I mean, it was the best dressing room in the world. What a place to come in and, you know, and to play and to go to work. This was where I went to work for 18 years, and it doesn't get any better than that, I can assure you. Looking back, you know, you just think to yourself, wow, what a lucky boy I was to turn up here day in, day out. All the people, the backroom staff, all the guys, it was fantastic.
You described it already, it's like being with your mates.
Well, it was with your mate. I mean, it's a team game. I've always enjoyed that atmosphere. You know, people say cricket's a team game played by individuals, but you need the guys to catch your catches. You need the guys to go out and get the runs for you, because I certainly wasn't going to. So it was a team game, and yeah, you just get some of the best memories of winning games and close games and performing well. And you know, going up and down the country. It used to be. I mean, when Middlesex used to turn up anywhere, you know, we were the big names in town. You know, we had a fantastic side. We won championships. You know, we had the likes of Gat, Fraser, all these guys, Rampakash. You know, when we were in town playing against Derby or you know someone like that, you know, we were the main event.
We've heard from Angus Fraser that he was once a batsman. You were once a seamer. So
he was a batsman?
Apparently so.
Was he? Crikey, I never saw any of that.
You started off as a spinner. How did you end... Sorry, you started off as a seamer. How did you end up as a spinner?
I'll tell you how. I used to bowl quick. I was fast. used to come steaming in. I tell you, I was an aggressive bowler. But I can remember Jack Robertson, a long time ago, up at the Finchley nets, saying, "Now you're a good bowler, you know what I mean, and you know keep going and what have you. But have you ever tried spinning the ball because you're left-handed?" And he said, "There's not too many left-arm spinners around." And he threw me the ball. He told me how to do it, sort of in a sort of 2-minute chat in the net. And then he said, "Well, go on then, have a go." I ran up, went like that, and it spun. And it kind of stuck with me all those years. And I said, "Well, hold on a minute, I can actually do that." And I saw it happen in front of my eyes. And I thought, this is pretty good. So I carried on with the seam bowling, but also, you know, started, you know, practicing the spin bowling. And then it just progressed from there.
Is it a case then that some people are just have got the natural talent to be, say, a bowler, and with good coaching you can turn that into what kind of bowler you want to be?
I think you can, in a way, yeah. I mean, I was lucky. I've always had a good action, always had a good sort of action, and that was through the years of being a fast bowler. So you know, I always had a natural kind of ability to run up and get the ball in decent areas, and you know, a nice sort of fluid, simple kind of action. And then so you just sort of did a few little tweaks, and then did a little tweak with the wrist. And it sort of became a spin bowler. But I've always had that ability to get it down the other end, roughly where I wanted it.
You mentioned the enjoyment of being in this dressing room. Was it ever daunting when you first entered the Middlesex first 11?
It was a little bit daunting, yeah, for sure. I can remember creeping in here, sort of like, you know, when you first came onto the staff and sort of was introduced to the guys and sitting in the sort of corner a little bit. Well, we used to change down the road a little bit in the sort of second 11 dressing room, and we used to sort of walk in here and you know, sort of, you know, give drinks out, or I can always remember hanging up sort of Wayne Daniels underpants or his vests or something, or you know what I mean, or you know, whitening the pads for Graham Barlow, or his boots or something like that. So it was a little bit daunting, but they, you know, I think there is that hierarchy a little bit. You know, these guys they're all international players. And you were the young fella who had to sort of, you know, not bow and scrape, you know what I mean, but show a little bit of respect, you know, because that's where I wanted to be. So I was delighted to be in it.
Young cricketers have their idols now who they want to emulate. Were you the same? What was it like hanging around with the likes of Wayne Daniel and Desmond Haynes and great cricketers like that? Yeah,
I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, just to be able to play with them, to pick their brains as well. And then once you got to know them, they were that sort of hero worship sort of died away, and you just saw them as your teammates, and you went out and had a few beers with them, or went out to dinner with them, and just talked about the game, and realised that there was a lot more to it than just about turning up and trying to get wickets and trying to, you know, win games. There's a lot more to it, and you learn that from your senior professionals.
So you can get a lot of experience by talking to those experienced players.
I learned most of my cricket in the bar.
What was it like before you? They had some guy called Phillip Edmonds here, who is a very talented left-arm spinner. What was it like following in his footsteps?
Well, I was very lucky in that respect. He said we had John Embry as well, who was a huge mentor of mine. I can remember, as you say, one of the first times I came in here, very shy and, you know, all a bit nervous. Embers actually came up to me and said, "Oh, I feel you're the sort of like the young spinner who's just been signed up." And so I got on very well with John from the start, and he sort of took me under his wing a little bit. Very lucky to have Phillip Edmonds here as well, another spin bowler, 2 England spin bowlers to talk you through and tell you about field settings and about how to bowl and to pick their brains. And also the likes of, as I said earlier, Don Bennett and Mike Gatting, who was a fantastic player of spin bowling as well. So, you know, you had a wealth of experience in here, and especially for a spin bowler as well. You could just go and ask these guys, and they could put you on the right, point you in the right direction.
You played a leading role in 2 county championship successes, 1990 and 93. What are your memories of those years?
We just had a great team. We just had a fantastic team, you know. The memories of those years. Well, I could remember winning those years. Gat always used to win the toss, which was great. And then we used to go and get 500 because we had a fantastic batting lineup. And then we had the likes of, who was it? Well, Angus and people like Norman Cowans, Neil Williams, Wayne Daniel a little bit, myself, Embers. I mean, we just seemed to have all points covered. You know what I mean? We had a really good batting lineup. We had, some good spin bowlers, some great seam bowlers as well. So if it seemed a bit, the boys did it. If it turned a bit, we'd do it, and we'd get the runs as well. And we just all seemed to click. Great atmosphere, a great a feeling of we're actually going out there and we're going to win this, and we felt confident that we could. And also, you'd sit down in this dressing room and you'd look around and you'd look at your mates and you'd look at your players and go, crikey, you know what I mean? There's some good players in here. So if there was any situation that sort of like needed someone to stick their hand up, you was looking at an international, or you were looking at one of your mates who you knew could go and get you 5 wickets for 30 runs, could go and get you 70 when you needed, a really crucial 70 or something like that. And you just knew that you had the boys to do that. So the confidence was just always there.
And one of those internationals in Desmond Haynes was a player who was right at the top of his game, one of the best opening partnerships in international cricket with Gordon Greenwich. What was he like?
Absolutely loved it when Desi came. We used to win the toss and I used to go to sleep for a day. It was fantastic. Used to go and have a little bit of lunch. Because I wasn't, I used to bat number 11, I wasn't really called upon. But then, you'd see the guys out there slowly sort of like wearing down the opposition, and then it was down to the bowlers and the bowling unit to go out and sort them out, which we did. What
was the highlight of your Middlesex career?
Highlight of my Middlesex career would be probably at Sophia Gardens. I got 8 for 29, and I think that was in one of those years where we did win the championship. It was a really crucial game because Glamorgan were up there. Viv Richards was playing for them. Matt Maynard had a very good side. Hugh Morris, and we always seem to struggle a little bit with Glamorgan down in Glamorgan because they had some funny little sort of seam bowlers. You know what I mean? That always used to sort of get our guys out a bit, and I think they got about 500 in the first dig, and then we got about 500, and then we bowled them out cheaply second dig, and I got 8 for 29, for which Viv Richards got 200 in the first innings, and I got him first ball second innings, and we won that game sort of like with half an hour to spare on the last day, which really just sort of like catapulted us above Glamorgan and really knocked the stuffing out of Glamorgan. So I'd say that was, and for me personally, to get 8 for, I can still remember Embers spewing, you know what I mean? I think he got 1 for or something, you know what I mean? He was gutted, and I felt really that, that was my sort of real contribution to the winning of that sort of championship.
People know about your laid-back approach, we could call it. Despite that, you're one of the finest left-arm spinners at the time. What advice would you be prepared to offer to any young spinners in the Middlesex youth squads who are looking to follow in your footsteps now?
Oh crikey, let me have a little think about that. Any advice for any youngsters coming through? I only played for one county in my whole career, and that was Middlesex. Played there for 18 years, and I could never ever dream of pulling another jumper on. I was offered to go all over the place and play for substantially bit more money and a bit of a better deal and what have you, but I just knew that I could not have gone out there with the same determination or the same will to win wearing another jumper. I just couldn't have done it. So every time I pulled that Middlesex jumper on, it meant something to me, and that's why I stayed, because I just wanted to play for Middlesex. Simple as that.
So a lot of pride in playing for Middlesex.
A lot of pride playing for Middlesex, for sure. I mean, you think back. I mean, I think that goes back to my father as well, who was a big Middlesex supporter. And he used to say about Dennis Compton and all these great names and whatever, and he said, the Middlesex boys were the boys to play for. Same with the Arsenal. You know what I mean? So yeah, I couldn't imagine playing for anyone else. I'd be physically sick if I put another jumper on. I would.
Of course, you've gone on to be one of the most famous former cricketers. How, as you look back at your time with Middlesex, now you've done all the TV and radio, etc.
Yeah, I just had a great. It probably saved my life in many ways, playing for Middlesex, because I perhaps had a few sort of rocky times over the thing, but the Middlesex were always here, sort of to support me, and they gave me that was the easiest place for me, was out in the middle. That's where I knew what was going on. So they were always very supportive of me, even though perhaps I was a bit of a pain in the neck sometimes. they could see what I was about, and they could see that I wanted to, you know, to play for them, and I, you know, you'd almost lay your life down for them when you were out there playing for them. You know what I mean? And I'd like to think that they could see that, and so they supported me through thick and thin, and I'll be eternally grateful for them. Met a lot of very nice people through the experience, and what a great 18 years, you know, to play here. And to play for Middlesex, it doesn't get any better than that. Looking back, it will never get any better than that.
And having been a successful cricketer and been a successful cricketer at Middlesex, of course, that helped you in the career that followed, your trip to Australia in the jungle and everything that's followed since.
Well, yeah, it made you stand on your own 2 feet. Being a cricketer, you know, you had to sort yourself out. You had to get yourself prepared, you know, because no one was going to do your bowling for you. So I think after life in cricket and what that does, I mean, I went all over the world with England and Middlesex, you know, with training camps and what have you. So, you know, you saw a bit of the world, and it made you grow as an individual as well. So, yeah, no, I owe it all really to Middlesex County Cricket Club. You know, they gave me a break, and hopefully I repaid them with a few wickets. And yeah, you know, brilliant place to come and play.
Phil, thanks very much. It's been extremely enjoyable. Thank you.
Pleasure.